Clap along if you feel like happiness is true. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't love you. Bring me down, can love you. Bring me down. It's about to go down. Let's get ready, baby. Talking about Ray Rice tonight. Come along if you feel like happiness is true. Come along if you know what happiness is. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come along if you feel like a room Come along if you feel like happiness is true. Come along if you know what happiness is to you. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't love you. Bring me down, can love you. Bring me down, can't love you. Bring me down, I said, come along if you feel like a room without a roof. Come along if you feel like happiness is true. Come along if you know what happiness is to you. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come along if you feel like a room without a roof. Come along if you feel like happiness is true. Come along if you know what happiness is to you. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
It's awesome, baby!
Good evening, citizens of Earth.
Welcome, human.
I merely tell you that the future of your planet is at stake.
We have to ask you to try to stay calm, and it's important for everyone not to panic.
I'm authorized to assure you that so far there is no reasonable cause for alarm.
Listen, do you hear? It's getting closer.
We have come to visit you in peace and with goodwill.
We work for a highly funded yet unofficial government agency. Our mission is to monitor extraterrestrial activity on Earth. We are the men in black.
You know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good.
This is a dream come true.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? This is Khayr, Coach Khayr, Coach K Radio, and you are now rocking with the best. I definitely appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in every Wednesday night for Man Leads Radio. That's right. And you know no subject is taboo to us because just like the theme song says, you need to get happy. And then our other theme song is Soldier of Love by Sade. And we got to be soldiers as we move forward in trying to occupy the space of love versus violence and fear and things like that. This is a show that's all about repairing the family, about helping people get the tools they need in order to succeed in relationships. Like in school, they taught us everything, well, almost everything that we needed to know, or what they wanted us to know with indoctrination, except how to operate in relationships. So that's crazy. I want to give a big shout out to California, Los Angeles in particular, because we are broadcasting live from over here. Where are we? You know, we're in Los Angeles. That's enough. That's as close as you need to know. We got this beautiful view out behind us, and if you're following us on YouTube today, you can check me out at CoachKRadio.com. That'll take you directly to the link, and you can see the live stream. I'll be doing some screen sharing as well. Okay, so when you go to YouTube, I can share the screen. So some of the things that me and the panel that are also on today to help us with relationships and to dissect this Ray Rice scenario and what is actually a media lynching, and as well as a distraction. But there are some jewels to learn from this. And today's show is also going to be dedicated to the Ray Rice family, and not from a condemning Ray or throwing Ray under the bus, but as if Ray was really listening in to us. Ray might be listening in. If you got his number, tell him to tune in to manleadsradio.info each and every Wednesday night, because when I initially saw this, I said, man, his leadership skills are poor. You know, how could I help him? Me calling him names can't help him reform his habits. Him going to jail is not going to help reform, and the way he's being punished is not going. Really, it's a double jeopardy, and he should sue the NFL. But that's another opinion that I'll get into later on tonight. I want to stick mostly with the facts, though, and of course, you know, the second half of the show will be opening the lines up. So if you do want to call in and you want to have something to say, if you want to comment, get some feedback, or ask some questions or viewpoints, if you disagree or agree, it's all good. The call-in number is 347-205-9089. 347-205-9089. This show is being brought to you tonight by CoachKhayr.com. It's also being brought to you by manleads.com. And we also, I got special guest up in the building tonight too. I'm gonna let you all know he's one of our proud sponsors tonight as well. And it's just gonna be, to me, one hell of a show, you know. And yeah, so let's just get ready to get this thing started. And let's go ahead and open it up. You know, I can't do the show by myself. This whole thing started when I met Ro Cutno one day in Atlanta, and she says, hey, I'm an author, and the name of my book is Man Leads. And I've interviewed over 1,000 people around the world, and different couples who are happily married, and I asked them, what is it that you do differently that's making your marriage a success? And she wrote basically what we call a manual. Now, some people have looked at the book and they said, man leads, woman follows, everyone wins. I ain't leading no man, I ain't following no man. But then I hear more people each and every week saying, yes, 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 thank you, thank you, thank you. This is the component that was missing in my life. And just by the way that we address topics of men leading and women following, and letting people call in and, you know, get clarity on what we're talking about, we also encourage each and every one of you to get the book. So you might as well go ahead and order it now. If you don't have it, you can go to Square Up and you can type in Ro Cutno, C-U-T-N-O, or you can type in Man Leads and you can order the book over there. I think she got it on special right now for a limited time. But you need the guide. And when I saw what happened, once again, around another full moon, how many times they're going to do rituals around full moons, I said, yo, I want to talk about this, because Ray definitely doesn't have the book, and his wife definitely don't have the book, because there's a couple things in there that they're not really sitting well with and following, that would have avoided, you know, this particular situation that they're in, that they're going to grow from as human beings, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our other guest tonight is Dr. from Morgan State University, doctoral student David Barney, public relations, organizational communication, communication management. This brother has a passion for communication theory, public relations, integrated strategic communications, and crises communication. And I met him on Facebook on a video he did on a good friend of mine, Keisha Dunstan's page. Big shouts out to Keisha for putting us together. And he was like, man, Ray, that was a punk move. And me and him had, you know, we had some dialogue on Facebook in the comment area. And then we talked to one another like two grown men on the phone. And I was like, brother, I want to invite you to come over to the show. And he's here tonight as well. So strap in, get a pen, get a piece of paper, post this on your Twitter feed or your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed. Let somebody know that you're going to be listening to a show that is solution-based in nature. Okay, the media doesn't need any help tearing the family apart any further than what it already has done. So, but without further ado, I want y'all to put y'all's hands together for my friend and yours, the author of Man Leads, Women Follows, Everyone Wins. A woman wrote this book. Y'all put y'all hands together for Ro Cutno.
It's awesome, baby!
What's happening, Ro? How you doing tonight? What's happening?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh man, I'm over here on the left coast, just loving it. The sun is still out. It's nice weather over here. Like, I'm feeling really good. And this is my first time broadcasting from the West Coast, live in Los Angeles. So I'm feeling really enthusiastic about tonight's show.
Me too.
Word.
A lot of people have been questioning why we're doing the show.
Okay, what'd you tell them, or do you want me to tell them?
Well, I simply told them that, you know, I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of dysfunction involved, and yes, there was hitting involved, but that we need to make a point to look at unhealthiness within him, unhealthiness within her, the media's rush to cover them, and poor leadership skills.
And poor following, well, definitely. I would have to say the poor following skills came from the poor leadership skills, and we're going to talk about all of that tonight. One of the first things, though, why I wanted to do the show tonight was your point on how the media makes relationships, especially in African-American reality shows, look like they are expendable. And people just follow the media and everything they do, and the media dictates. It doesn't give you an option. It just dictates to you how to feel about relationships. So can you just start with that particular portion about, you know, what you said in your book, Man Leads, about how the media is not our friend in relationships?
Right. Well, we have to remember how this country was founded, what has made this country great, and more specifically, that during World War II, a campaign was started to get women to feel like they were being oppressed by men in order to get them to go into the workforce. That escalated into the feminist movement, which brought a lot of women great rights and great freedoms, but it caused a situation where women began to see the men who were in their lives as the oppressor, which, you know, everyone knows that the oppressor is way higher up than that. But we have, over generations, accepted this idea that continues to feed our economy, which is that men are born evil. And the more that we accept this, the stronger our economy grows. But our families are weak by accepting this.
Can you say that last part again? Your phone was breaking up a little bit.
Our families are weakened by accepting this falsity. It's not true that men are born bad or born evil. This is impossible by nature, actually. But we in America, we don't travel enough to realize that this is an American idea that spread throughout our English language, and that we have bought into something about men which is wrong. And it continues because most men are not verbally talented enough or aware as to what has happened in order to explain themselves. So this just keeps going and going and going, and misunderstandings have been ruining families. So we watch the media and we just believe everything. We need to understand that the media is in place to keep first of all, to entertain people so that they obviously buy into the products that are being sold, but also to keep relationships, keep people against each other so that the economy continues to have women in the workforce, keeping everything economically strong.
Exactly. And me and Brother David, he's going to come on tonight, and we're going to talk about some of the that economics part, because we're talking about we're in a capitalistic country, and I wanted to bring him on as, you know, part of our media specialist, because that's what he does, PR. He's the brother, that's his specialty. I'm gonna let him introduce himself when he comes on, but I want to cover the facts first. For if somebody's listening to the show and they're saying, well, I didn't see the tape, I don't know what happened. So let me just briefly go back and just go over it real fast. Really, I should go back a few years. Ray Rice and Janae started, they knew each other in high school, even though they went to 2 different high schools, okay? So they've been known each other. Then they went to 2 separate colleges, but they were in the same town. They started dating while he was in college before he was drafted, and they've been dating ever since he's been playing with the Baltimore Ravens. They have a daughter together, and then they had an incident that was caught on a camera on February the 25th, where no audio was leaked, but they had some some family instances that went terribly wrong and got caught on videotape. And of course, he was suspended for 2 games, for the first 2 games of the year. There was a straight witch hunt by a lot of feminist organizations to saying, oh, that's not enough, that's not enough. And then now on this full moon, the other day, TMZ releases the tape from the inside of the elevator, which shows him, well, they were hitting each other, because when they initially both of them got arrested on February the 25th, both of them had aggravated assault charges filed against them both, all right? And she had already slapped the man outside the elevator. She slapped him in the elevator. He pushed her back. She lunged at him. He hit her. She hit her head on the bar as she was going down, and when she hit the ground, she was unconscious. Now, no doctor has come in and said he pummeled her. There's no video of him just attacking her from behind or just jumping on her. They were having a domestic dispute in private. It got caught on tape, and now everybody is making Ray to be out a monster. And when you make Ray to be out a monster, a black man with a black wife, you're making it seem like the black family, this is all that's out here. Because they just had a big fight on Atlanta House, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, where they had the reunion, and they had the man and woman fighting. Everybody was just fighting, and that was more media programming to say, look how dysfunctional black families are. And so we're doing the show tonight to really bring some facts to say, don't let the media dictate what you think all the time, because as Rose says, there's thousands of healthy men out there who do not beat on women. There are a lot of healthy women out there that don't put their hands in their face of men. So, Rose, I mean, when you originally saw the tape, did you immediately think that there are a lot of unhealthy black men out here, or men out here, or did it change your view on how many healthy men are really out here?
No, it does not change my view, and we don't have a tape of him repeatedly hitting women. We have a tape of him hitting a woman one time. Am I correct or no?
That's it, one time.
Okay, so in my opinion, obviously, none of it should have happened. There is no place for violence in a loving relationship between 2 adults. None of that should have happened. But we have to remember that men operate on instinct first and thinking second. So women cannot go around under any circumstances antagonizing men who are going to be at fault if they respond violently. Yes, they're going to be at fault, but women need to understand that men react to them instinctively first, and thinking usually comes second. The more masculine a man is, the more he's going to go with his instincts first and his thinking second.
And he's involved in a very masculine sport, you know, very, very masculine sport, where he's got people chasing him and trying to, you know, rough him up. And his instincts are at a very high level because he won a Super Bowl. So you can't be a running back you can't be a running back in the NFL and not have high instincts. So you're right. Now I want to bring on our guest today because he, Brother David, said, hey, what about his restraints and some other comments. But before I get into that, I just want y'all to put y'all hands together for my new friend, like I said, doctoral student at University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Excuse me for the typo, Brother David Barney. Y'all put your hands together for David Barney.
It's awesome, baby!
David, thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing?
I'm well. First, thank you for having me, and thank you for the discourse yesterday that proved to be pretty productive. So I do appreciate it. And yes, I am assistant professor in communications at Morgan State University as well as a doctoral student, and about 15 years in public relations, and I also have 2 master's degrees in different disciplines of communication. So yeah, communication is what I do, and I do look at it from the media perspective, more so from a theoretical perspective, and its application and its influence primarily on African American culture. Just one thing I wanted to touch on that was just mentioned about, I think it was something about operating on desire, and I had a quote from Thomas Jefferson that says that love seems for them to be more eager desire than a tender, delicate mixture of sentiment and sensation. And what I like to do really is, like you, I think I am a bit of an historian. So most of the things I talk about, I like to preface it with a little bit of history just to give it some foundation so that there's an understanding of where I'm going with it. So if you don't mind, I think even before the women's movement, I think the mid-1600s with the passage of the slave codes, that's when the first unionization of the family began. And more so, the impact of the media. The media was in existence at the 1600s, 1619. You know, the first slaves, the first ads were for runaway slaves and slaves for sale. And that started the propaganda model. And America has existed through the eyes of the media with the propaganda model, which leads us where we are today. There are a couple of 2 theories that I just want to throw in as we dialogue, so people can kind of get a reference point for exactly what goes on, because unless you've actually studied or trained and studied the media, we don't look at media as such. We look at it as entertainment, and that's what the media wants us to do. So one of the 2 theories that I really want to focus on and let this be a kind of a foundation as we continue the dialogue is, one is agenda setting theory. And pretty much the theory goes all back to 1922, where it really was shaped to look at public opinion. All right, and what it was supposed to do, the media set the agenda by telling you what to think about, not necessarily what to think. But what happens is people learn not just about a given issue, but also how much importance to attach to that issue. So let's say the media wants to identify Black men still as dehumanizing them, as uncivilized, as barbaric. If that is the agenda, everything that they do with regards to messaging through the media will drive that agenda item. And what happens is it creates a public awareness and concern for salient issues that were, pretty much by the media. But here's the kicker: the media doesn't always reflect reality, and I think we know that. But I think because we depended so much on the media that we lose sight of the fact that it's not reality. What they do is they filter and they shape it. They concentrate on the issues that lead the public perception, and those issues are more important than other issues. So, we have a lot of issues going on. But right now, if they want to look at black men as being not the leaders in the household, as being the destructors of the household, as not protecting black women or protecting the family, but rather than being a threat to them, they have means by which to do that. They have the means. And leading into that is really another theory, cultivation theory, that explains how people's conceptions of social reality are influenced according to their exposure to the television. But, when this theory came out, it was just television. Today we have a plethora of channels by which messages are disseminated. And so the hypothesis, the cultivation states that the more television people watch, the more likely they are to hold a view of reality that is closer to the television depiction of reality versus their own. And we, I think, we perpetuate that as well, unknowingly. And so I think this is the foundation for where we are today. The channels by which the messages flow, social media, television, we have like 1,000 cable channels, reality shows, and we buy into this. We buy into it unconsciously. And that's the cognitive part of it. These messages break through our cognitive barriers unknowingly. And so now we're faced with issues like this, whether, the media say, hey, the agenda says it's okay to shoot teenagers in the back, to stronghold, unarmed men. If the goal is, or the agenda again, is to depict black men in a certain way, that's what's going to happen. So that's really the crux of what drives our perception. Again, it's unknowing. Unless again you studied it, you researched it, and you're cognizant of the marketing strategy. And if it didn't work, companies wouldn't be spending dollars to run their ads. They work. They have marketing data to show that, hey, these messages get through. So from commercials, and I think we talked about this. You don't see us, holding any commercials where there's an investment in concern. We do Popeyes, we do KFC, we do McDonald's, anything that's dancing, we do. But that again, it goes back to an agenda. So that's where I wanted to chime in, just to lay the foundation for where I'll be responding, really based on my understanding of the media and the theory that's employed.
Appreciate that. Ro, you see I brought an expert in tonight, so you ain't even got to do that much talk about media. You can just, y'all can just do the
That's good.
You can just pass.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder, babe.
Oh, nah, you can't steal. Say that again, David.
Hello?
No, I said I hope I didn't steal her thunder.
Oh, no. Take the lead, sir. Take the lead.
Remember?
Ban lead.
Right.
Well, the thing about it is, and Ray, and I think you made a good point in terms of his leadership skills. Leaders are not, in my opinion, there's an argument, are leaders born or they are created. A lot of us, we're still suffering from post-slavery. We were never really given the opportunity to lead. Therefore, we don't know how to lead. So it's the media that tells us who a leader is. Our president was an incredible transformational leader. The media still tries to find ways to depict him as something other than that. We were never supposed to be here. And so Ray, I don't think Ray really understood how to be a leader and to be reactive, like you said. Based on his background, what his his background is as an athlete, as a testosterone, having a job in a testosterone-filled sport, that's filled with aggression.
Right.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up was without me and Ro, we wanted to send some messages out to the Ray Rice family. You know, first off, we sending our love and our prayers out to the family because we know up under all the muscles, and she looks very athletic herself, that there is a very healthy family that wants to have a healthy relationship. And even today or yesterday, his wife came out and she said, you know, the media has really ruined our lives because here we are, we've got past this, and now all of a sudden somebody's dropping more stuff in our lap to ruin us, you know. And a lot of people said that we are blaming the victim, and that what she's doing, Ro, is saying, I'm a victim and it was my fault, and y'all leave him alone. Now, I have seen some domestic violence cases where women have been violently abused, and then I was like, well, what do you want me to do? You want us to come over there and do something about it? No, 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 don't do anything about it. And then she stayed with that man. I'd be like, well, why don't you leave? But there were no other cases of them having any domestic violence or anything like that. They don't have any friends running out and saying, you know, he used to beat on her. I know that they had a terrible relationship. What do you say, Ro, to the country and the media and the feminists who say, well, she's deranged because, you know, she's the victim and she shouldn't have said that about her husband, and the media staying out of her family? What do you have to say about that, Ro?
I am not a person who's going to pretend like I know this woman, so I don't think that's an appropriate. I don't know this woman. I don't think anybody should be acting like they know this woman.
Wow. Wait a minute.
I don't have an opinion. I don't know her personality.
Woo! Woo! Wait a minute. So what you saying? Wait a minute, Rose. So what you saying is, not only should you not be saying nothing about her because you don't know her personally, but the reporters and the feminists on CNN, they should keep their mouth shut too because they don't know her either?
Yeah, I think that's odd to like say, okay, what do you think Michael Jackson did with those kids? If you don't know Michael Jackson or the kids, I just think that's odd.
Ro be hitting them with them body blows. She says, isn't it odd that you would speak about somebody that you don't know and you haven't had an interview about? No, I call it yellow journalism. That's what I call it. I call it yellow journalism. I'm trying to sell some papers. So, okay, well then, let's do this. If someone came to you and you had only saw the tape, and she as a female said, Ro, what can I do to have my man be a better leader in the household where scenarios like this won't happen again? What would you recommend?
Well, we don't want scenarios like this to happen at all. And I think that there has to be 101 steps to get to this. Like, that is just dysfunctional. That is not the nature. Women should not be acting like that, and men should not be acting like that. Nobody should be in a relationship with somebody who they believe is abusive, first of all. And nobody should be in the face of somebody in a violent way. Like, I don't understand why we have to discuss this over and over again.
David, in the post earlier yesterday on Facebook, you mentioned that you felt that he needed to, something about he was too sensitive, and something about he needed to be able to practice restraint. Would you like to? Can you give me the background of that statement and let me know what you meant when you said that?
Yeah, and again, this comes from my own upbringing. And as men, okay, we talk about leaders. We've had enough historically. We've seen enough historically to know right from wrong. One of the things, and I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to take a little detour. You mentioned my thing is crisis, and it is crisis communications and issues management. It's not a matter of if, but when a crisis is going to occur. The best way to deal with a crisis is to prepare for it. The greatest way is to avoid it. You avoid a crisis by doing a risk analysis of managing the risk. You do that by looking at the historical factors that fall under your particular category. So let's say, what are all the issues that are relevant to or could come under the umbrella of a professional football player? And at that point, you take the necessary steps to remove yourself or to ensure that you're doing things that circumvent those issues. And we see it over and over again. And like you and me, I don't play football, but I learned from, life history, life lessons that, hey, there are certain things that I can and cannot do because I'm not on par with the mainstream America. So I can't do what they do. Therefore, I have to do things a bit more cautiously and with some thought. And so when I said that, yeah, as a man, we have to show restraint. And I think one of the examples I gave to you when we talked earlier, is an example of a gender study. They do. In a hostile, they're quick to tell. We can have to disrupt him. But he that we all revered. We revered him for that. It was incredible. And he did that because he was cognizant of the fact that there's already a perception book like this created by the media. Therefore, I need to be a step above them. And I've got to make sure that when I do things, I'm doing things with the idea that I represent a culture who have been oppressed, who have been dehumanized, and at some point it has to change because even with that, if you recall, I think it was Father's Day in 2008 when he was just a candidate for the presidency in Chicago, when he was at the church and he talked about men stepping up and being men and being fathers. And these messages should resonate just as loudly as the words that the media use to discredit us. And see, I think we're picking and choosing what messages we get. So, as a man, do you know that it's not right to put hands on anyone? Certainly we do. We taught that in kindergarten. Don't hit this person. Keep your hands to yourself. Now, I don't know what condition their relationship is in terms of being dysfunctional or if this is a regular. I have no idea. So, to your point, I don't know either one of them. But I do look at things from a man perspective. And I've myself been in that situation where I have walked away. And so much is given, much is required. So if I've been given this position where I'm no longer a private person, I now allow myself to move to the stature of a public person. I mean, that's what happens when you trade off. Therefore, you're always under the scrutiny of the eye of not just the media, but your fans and everyone else. So at that point, yes, he should have shown restraint, in my opinion. Okay, again, I don't know what his tolerance levels are, but I just think as a man, we have been, again, going back to the 1600s, when, we were kept, we even created a signal from being able to lead. We weren't able to lead, but now we have leaders in place that we can't emulate. And to that point, Ray Lewis, who was his teammate, who was a fantastic leader, who is still a great leader. He had someone to even look to learn from. But again, in the heat of heat, in the heat of passion, things happen. But could he have? Certainly, I think he could have. And I stand by that. Now, I will stand by that statement that he should have shown some restraint. Regardless of whether it's caught on tape or not. He should have shown some restraint. Whether it's, hey, let me get off the elevator, you go ahead up to the floor, whatever you want to do, but I'm going to chill down here.
Right. Okay.
Because again, now let me just say this real quick. We are a content-driven society. We live on sound bites. The media looks for the sensationalism. But you know what? We can't give that to them. We have to be cognizant of the fact that, hey, everything they do is going to put us in a negative light. We're twerking. We walk with our pants down. All these things are messages, that content that the media is using to drive the agenda. If we don't give them any content, they have no agenda. They can make an agenda, but if we don't give them anything, guess what? They have nothing. There's nothing to cultivate at that point.
Now, I want to come in before I get to the second part. The first thing you said is he should have restrained himself, but you did not mention should she have restrained herself, because it shows on the tape she slaps him outside the elevator, and she comfortably slaps him too. Like Rose said, it probably was 101 things that led up to this, including alcohol, But do you feel that she should have exercised initial restraint? Because remember, in the post, I am a strong proponent that women are smarter than men. They're smarter than us. And when they abandon their wisdom, and as Ro has said all the time, they're women are much more sophisticated communicators. What's your phrase?
Much more verbally talented.
Much more verbally talented. By nature. Are we faster or should we be playing football? Hell yeah. But are we as verbally talented as females? Come on, Ro. Hell no. We are not as verbally.
Yes, to your point, you're right. Yes, I will agree with you that, first of all, in any relationship, there should be the highest level of reverence and admiration and respect for each other, period, in an ideal relationship. Should she have hit him? Certainly not. We both have roles in a relationship, and one from a nurturing perspective, one from a protective perspective, and no, she should not have. But again, as men, innately, we have always been the ones who always have to be resourceful, show ingenuity, and to know how to get things done. We have been at that point, appointed to that role for a reason. Therefore, yes, though she hit him, the onus is still going to be on him. There are some states like Georgia. I live in Georgia for the law. I went to school in Georgia. And it's on the books in Georgia. If there's a domestic dispute, the man is going to jail. It's just that simple. Now, knowing that, we have to take responsibility given much is required. We are required to do more. We are a black man. We are black men. We are required to do a hell of a lot more. So yeah, she was wrong. I'm not saying she was right. But to the point where you get her back, that's where we should never lose our composure as black men. We shouldn't. They're waiting for us to.
I think that it's important to understand that we cannot wait until things escalate to this level. And that there are 101 steps that lead up to something like this. You know, lack of respect is probably the main issue in that relationship. I don't know these people, but I'm pretty sure that the reason why. And it is a man's responsibility to not accept disrespect. It is a man's responsibility to make that the foundation of his relationship with a woman. You don't have to hit a woman will not be disrespectful. Women need to understand that men view respect as love, and a lack of respect to a man instinctively makes him feel like she is saying, I hate you. Not mentally, instinctually. And there is not much that can be done. Once a man feels disrespected, it is very hard for him to come back from that. There's no reason to try to salvage a relationship with a man who feels grossly disrespected. And yes, putting your hands in the face of a man, especially an extremely masculine man, is going to have his defenses triggered because men are wired to fight the enemy. Women are not supposed to be, and woman is not supposed to be the enemy, which automatically is confusing. So I'm not taking any of this responsibility off of him except for the fact that he has not at that point where there was an altercation that was physical between two adults.
Let me ask this. Do we agree that the media is powerful?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Which is why in 2011, remember we had the conglomeration between NBC and Comcast. Okay, you had the largest cable network joining with the largest television network. Okay, and he who controls the medium controls the message. That being said, men knowing that the media is all over, they're everywhere. At what point do we, and not just Ray Rice, but all of us, at what point do we recognize the fact that our moves, our perception, like a media that is a 24/7 news cycle?
Well,
I'm sorry. No, and so that to the point where we're disrespected, if he felt disrespected, we have a long history of being disrespected.
It doesn't mean that we can begin to disrespect. That it's healthy to accept disrespect in a relationship.
Exactly, and I think, and you're so right. But we are disrespecting each other at an alarming rate. Her verbal, her physical attack ourselves at an alarming rate. A lot of things we do, the shows that we participate in, because we're getting money for those shows, whether they're reality shows or whatever, we're taking a trade-off for that. Again, content-driven. And it's hard to fight you, first of all, unless you own a major network, which we do not. We don't control those messages. We are subject to whatever they're putting out. Therefore, we all collectively need to be cognizant of what we're doing and the images that we're portraying, and allow the media to really embellish and make bigger than they are. So we have to, including Ray Rice, including RG3, I don't care who you are, Tiger Woods. And the media is so powerful. The media is so powerful that, think about this. Prior to the release of the full video, everything was cool. We had a 2-game suspension. It was not until the symbolism. Now, symbolism is powerful. You don't even need words to go along with symbols. You just need that etched in the minds of people, and it's the attribution. And the ability on that which they understand only based on the information that they receive. So attribution is really high. It's based on the fact that that's symbol. And that was a right or wrong. That symbol overshadowed anything that she may have said or done to him. Because it's about the symbol. Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that the media got hold of it, and they knew. I mean, come on, they knew the effect that it was going to have. So much so that the NFL turns around after Ray Rice went under and had a conversation with Roger Goodell and with the owner of the Ravens, who assured him that, okay, everything is fine, and then you turn around and you renege. That's the power of the media, because the bottom line to the media, what drives the media is advertising. At the end of the day, it's a capitalistic society. It is the money that drives the media. It's the advertising dollars. It's the sensationalism. And that's where...
in our country, and I say this almost every show, and I know that people may not be able to grasp what I'm saying, but people don't travel. They don't go to another country and realize that TV is so uneventful in other countries, that we have a monster that is different and unacceptable and unique. And there is no reason, no good reason for anybody to turn on media or pay attention to the media on a daily basis. I have not paid attention to American media in 11 years. I mean what I say when I am adamant about the negative aspects of the media. I'm not going to sit on this radio all day long and talk about it, then you go back and watch TV. So the question is, actually going to do about it?
Well, so you're right. And this is to be a solution-based show. So where do we start? I think, again, people have to eat. So people aren't going to stop making housewives of Atlanta and everything else. They're not going to stop doing that, okay? But I posted a video a couple of weeks ago where I gave a challenge to others on social media to stop posting videos that were negative, that showed buffoonery at its highest level. And I challenge that, because when we're doing that, we're feeding into the mainstream media in terms of disseminating messages that are not just isolated to a geographical area, it's international. So it's not people in the U.S. that look at us a certain way. You have people in Europe, in Asia, in Africa.
And it used to not be so bad, but now we have the internet.
Well, that's a whole other theory. Technology determinism. Okay? The technology determines our culture, how we relate, how we communicate. And if you look at today, they came out with iPhone 6, if they were to watch, but guess what? They would never be without information. So I think at some point we have to, and we're smart enough to recognize the fact that, we're marching in Ferguson and everything. We understand the injustice. And I think, from a country that was built on injustice. And take ownership of our stuff. Because again, we don't own the NBC and the ABC, but what we do have access to is social media.
But also, I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, but I just want to jump in here and say, we also need to take control of our households. Noble Drew Ali said in the Circle 7, he said, fathers, teach your children to love instead of hate. Mothers, teach your children to love instead of hate. So even before, I can't put something on social media if this is my normal behavior, which is that's why we have this show every Wednesday night, to give people practical tags and warning signs. So I'm going to roll an alley-oop, and we're going to talk about, in solution-based is not only buying the book Man Leads, or signing up from coaching from Ro or from myself, or any professional relationship coach. Instead of trying to take care of it yourself, we have to understand that what the difference between healthy is. What's the definition of healthy? So, Ro, even though we are repetitive about it, we're going to keep repeating it until people get it. If we have healthy relationships in the house, and we know how to discriminate if a man is healthy and if a woman is healthy, and how to help her, then we will have things, then we can post things on social media with integrity. Then we will be almost mentally allergic to watching crazy stuff on TV. I'm mentally allergic from watching Scandal or watching Hip Hop Wives or whatever. That doesn't affect me.
Right.
So, Ro, can you talk about what it is to be healthy and what it is to be unhealthy, and why, from looking at the tape, as experts in relationships, we say that this was really a tape of two unhealthy people. We're not saying that nobody's a monster. We're just saying, and when you're healthy, it doesn't mean that you can't, if you're unhealthy, it doesn't mean that you can't get healthy. If you want to lose 20 pounds to make you healthy, if you need to get your blood pressure down, or you need to get away from the symptoms that cause diabetes, that's how you get healthy. You make changes in your behavior. So tonight we want to talk about what is healthy and what is non-healthy. Excuse me, over here in LA with the windows open, that's what you get, little motorcycles riding around, so please pardon that. But Ro, can you talk about what's healthy and what's not healthy? What did you see that wasn't healthy, and what healthy habits could have been replaced with some of the unhealthy things that you saw?
Well, the first thing we have to continuously remind ourselves of is that, contrary to what you see in the media, most people are healthy or are going to be healthy or are able to be healthy. Now, a lot of us are mirroring what we see, unhealthy behavior that we think is normal or as where it's not true. We're putting as far as that, the fact that it escalates, I don't know them again, but it's very probable that they enjoy, to a certain level, dysfunction. People don't want to admit that, but a lot of us enjoy dysfunction, and we have to remember that there are physical reactions that our bodies have to negativity. Physical reactions. And some people enjoy those endorphins that are associated with negativity. A lot of us do that. A lot. That in itself is unhealthy, dysfunctional, negative, nasty, bringing more nastiness to you. I know it seems Pollyanna, but that is as simple as that. Some people enjoy negativity. And in Black American culture, a lot of us have been raised with negativity. We come from backgrounds of negativity. Feel that we become strong with negativity. But negativity is not ever going to bring positivity to your life. Ever. So this dysfunction, this addiction to negativity, watching it, discussing it, enjoying it, reliving it in your mind, all of those are unhealthy behaviors.
Now,
which are not going to work in any relationship, by the way.
Right, are not going to work. Now, me, I have a, hold on.
From a solutions perspective, I like to look at the root. I like to look at the origin. I think I made that clear in the beginning. I like to look at the history of things because it gives you a kind of a starting point where you were, where you are, and where you're trying to go. And the fact of the matter is, I think the first start to any solution is to find a way to get people to understand their history. Excuse me, us to understand our history. Because I think when you understand the origins of where your behavior can come from, I mean, think about it. We do DNA on our parents, and you go to the doctor, they want to know what your grandfather, great-grandfather, what they may have had, because that may be something that's dormant in you, so make sure that they can fix that. There's no difference here. No difference. Slaves had no legal safeguards then. You know, black men were powerless to protect the loved ones from any harassment, any sexual exploitations, rape from the masters over here. These are all conditions that are post-slavery. And we have not had any solid messages that were true to our historical experiences. You know, black women were forced, circumstances, you know, disciple their that negative system that left their husband is because we had that dysfunction early on, and we had and given us false representations of our. There's no way that we can gather enough data make the life, the concern life, to go say, oh, wait a minute. And so I think from a solutions base, it has to start with that. And I think a lot of what we operate off of, well, I think that negativity stems from fear. Because fear was a constant among slave families. Right. That's how master controlled us. That's how they controlled us. To the point where, at one point, slaves outnumbered their masters 10 to 1. Of the story, but the point is that you have an appreciation for it. You would then make different decisions.
I would like to.
You won't know what your pants at.
I'd like to take it.
Be a teenage girl twerking on YouTube.
Right. I'd like to take it another step further. You know, I don't know if people are aware of this, but fear is a state of consciousness. Fear is a state of consciousness. Fear is not necessarily a reaction. Fear can be a place that somebody mentally lives in until they become more conscious. And as a Black people in America, a lot of us are stuck in fear. You're absolutely right. But the only thing that's going to get us out of fear is not to push past our fear and become brave. Information gets people past fear because mostly fear is associated with something that is unknown.
Exactly. And so, exactly for that.
Right. So just watching the media, which is giving you more and more unknowns, is going to keep you in a conscious state of fear. We don't use this word consciousness the way that it's actually supposed to be used all the time. People think that consciousness means to be aware of something, but fear is a state of the way that you see things. And once somebody moves past fear through knowledge, there's no turning back. Once you become unafraid, you don't become afraid again. You may have moments of fear, but you're not living in a state of fear. And so, what really needs to be happening, is more information of the right aspects or important aspects that are happening around us, not a recycling of ignorance from Atlanta Housewives.
And I agree 200%. And that's where I think that's where the challenge comes from. Because again, I'm going to go back to this. If we don't have access to mainstream media, then we're like rich salmon swimming upstream. It's hard because we have to find a way to get our messages past the messages that are constant. These messages are constant. We're bombarded constantly. Constant. Even if you turn your television on, driving down the street, there's a billboard. Open up a magazine, there's a picture. Messages are more than just movies or shows. They're still photos, they're words, they're symbols. These are all the slow information. And then we have to also be willing to accept the information without feeling like we're being attacked or someone is being condescending, and look at it as, hey, we're trying to help. Because you get people now, I see young men, I said things to young men and Morgan, hey, or whatever else, pull your pants up, and I've gotten dirty looks. How dare you tell me what to do? Right. And say what we want about Django. That one of the best scenes was when Samuel Jackson when he realized that his black woman, and he was ready to turn her in, do everything that Master said. We're not far removed from that. So again, I think that we understood intimately the historical significance of us. The historical significance of slavery.
Hold on.
I think it's conceptualized. I think it's hard to conceptualize. I think that it's hard for people to connect themselves to the fact that they are still responding to slavery. But it needs to be very clear and obvious. You know, there are certain things that still live with us. And one of the most obvious things is recipes and food. So if a recipe and the way that we cooked as slaves still is the way that a lot of us cook now, what else did you learn?
Exactly. And the perspective I want to add is from one of my great teachers. The way you kill the devil is stop talking about him. I'm sick and tired of slavery being a excuse as a historical fact, like we only go back 600 years. Our stories go back so far. We were ruling all of Europe and all of Africa for over 8 centuries prior to 1492. But we talk about slavery like it's all we got. And I am so tired of, well, you know, the slave master got us this. I'm so sick of excuses. Because like Rose said, we don't eat pork no more. You got more black people running through Whole Foods swearing up and down they organic vegetarians and vegans. And they can take over any movement they want to. And the sinister, who I say has a media budget of $1 billion a minute, can say, hey, I'm going to go target them as dollar signs. I'm not going to go target them as, you know, sure, they may turn against one another, and I want to demoralize their family, but it's at the end of the day, it's your choice. If you say, I don't eat pork, and you go through the drive-thru and they put bacon on your sandwich, you're not going to drive off with it and be like, oh, McDonald's is such a terrible place. You're going to park your car, go inside and say, what the bleep is going on? This is not mine. This is not, you're going to return to sender. And I think that's one of the strategies that we have to do is stop picking people for, oh, they look this good, or the sex is off the chain, they have rough sex, or I can get away with slapping him in the face. We have to look at if you got a television where you can watch some craziness reality show on television, then you also have an internet computer where you can listen to Man Lee's Radio. Every post that Ro posts every day on Instagram is getting like 1,200 to 1,500 people hitting the like button. That's not even including everybody who sees how many followers that she has. So it's not like the message is not out there, it's what people are choosing. So I know we're going to play devil's advocate and the online already calls like this. The great thing about this entire thing that now people better start understanding that choices early on that are, and your happiness is not considered in the beginning of a relationship. You are destined to have some drastic climax and failure in your relationship that hurts you financially, emotionally, and possibly physically. Whatever happened to her in February physically, she's recovered from it. But can she recover? Can she recover? Let's not talk about Ray Rice for a second. Can Janae Palmer Rice recover from the blow that just hit her? Her husband is out of a $4 million contract this year. He doesn't have, I don't know if he has any other skills, I'm not going to say that, but he has a Super Bowl ring, and the lifestyle that she loves to live is now immediately in peril. Immediately, her lifestyle that her husband was making, I don't know if she was making $4 million, plus he lost all of his endorsements, which was $1.6 million. And if you know about anything about NFL or professional players, 85% of them file bankruptcy within 5 years. This brother wasn't hopefully he was savvy enough to have some money put up somewhere. But by the numbers, her lifestyle, Janae's lifestyle, is in peril right now, because if she would have been finding another way to increase her man's testosterone. See, slapping a man decreases his level of testosterone. And as Rose research has said, that when you lower a man's testosterone, he's not going to be as successful. What should have been going on in the elevator? Give that man a blowjob. You don't see no man slapping nobody and knocking nobody out while he getting a blowjob. He wouldn't have lost all of the tape wouldn't even have been leaked. And if it would have been leaked, it wouldn't have been this kind of response. Just everybody think about it for a second. Ray Rice's wife caught giving him a blowjob in the elevator. Would he still be working right now? Would it be a little embarrassing? Sure. But would it be tragic to their lifestyles and their relationships? What about if she would have gently caressed him on the cheek before they got in the elevator? What if we just saw them in the elevator?
I know all the women listening are thinking the same thing I'm about to say. They were in an argument. They were having an argument.
Yeah,
now, what I guess what you're trying to say is they should not have gotten an argument.
Well, I'm not going to say they shouldn't have gotten an argument, because people have disagreements in life. But
I know, but I'm saying, so a woman is not going to give a man a blowjob and they're in the middle of a heated argument.
Hey, now here we go again. Now you made a good point. Thank you very much. That's my boo right there. I love bro. Now watch this right here. Men, let me switch over to the men. Men, do you want to know how to get a blowjob in the elevator while you're in a heated argument? Don't get in a heated argument while you're drunk at Atlantic City coming from the gambling table. You need to be thinking ahead. The restraint that Brother David was talking about, I feel it should have been mental restraint more than physical restraint. His discipline was lacking because the alcohol took over. The alcohol was one of the major influences in the slave trade. The alcohol was one of the major influences in the slave trade, and the slave behavior was what was being exemplified, of the slave watching how the master dealt with arguments from either his white wife or his black slave. That's how he dealt with it. And so create a safe space around your woman. Create a safe space by communicating with her in the non-arguing times. In the non-arguing times, women are much more open to you, some of your suggestions. And you must fill them, brothers. You must fill them with good leadership, healthy touch, nurturing, gifts, nice things to say. If you can't fill your woman's life with those type of things, guess what? You got the wrong woman. And if you got to go get a chick on the side to do that, you're in two wrong relationships. And it's not going to work out. So there is a very high level of accountability that men need to address as well, and it comes to a situation of how to get a blowjob in the elevator versus losing $5.6 million, which is what happened. He really lost more than that because, you know, he's not going to get picked up at the same pay. He's not going to get the endorsements are going to come back. And then if they try to run at him through the court system, they're going to try to take the rest of his money. And mind you, all of this was happening around another super moon. But that'll be on my astrological show, and I'll be having some of my other astrological folks come in. I got to get to the phone lines. I'm enjoying the conversation tonight with David and Ro. This is Coach Khayr. You listen to Man Leads Radio. The call-in number is 347-205-9089. You've been listening to us. We want to hear from you. What's your comments, questions, feedback, anything you got to say? Just press 1, and it's going to be live and direct. I did have a question from someone in the chat room earlier. Oh my goodness, I hadn't looked over there. She said, what if the feelings of disrespect were already present in the man? Well, that's the part about choosing a healthy man. If you are dating a man that walks around constantly feeling disrespected, don't baby him. Get a healthy man. Ladies, I'm telling you from a male's perspective, we don't need babying from a woman that we're trying to have intercourse with. if we're not healthy enough for you, leave us alone and go get you a healthy man. Now, don't say, well, don't say, well, there's no healthy men out here. Yes, there are. There's tons of healthy men out here. But do you know what healthy is? Your criteria has been what has been the problem. So that's my response to that particular to that question. And I'm getting ready to try to find this person because they're on the line. Caller from the 510-355. Your microphone is wide open. Can I get your name and where you're calling from, please?
Hi, Khayr. This is Amber.
Hi, Amber.
Amber McFeel from Facebook.
Yes.
I chatted a little bit with you earlier today about this. I mean, it's been all over social media. But good evening, everybody else. Gentlemen, this lady.
Hi.
Hi. And I just had a comment, you know, what you just said about identifying, well, what really is healthy. I think is a really good point that I'd like to respond or center my response within. And that is a lot of the things that we are contributing to, participating in within our social structure, things that came up in my mind, you know, when I saw the whole incident play out, was this lifestyle that you talked about. This woman has to now relinquish her lifestyle that was very comfortable. And putting that next to, let's say, the media and the Atlanta Housewives, and us being sort of our desire being shifted and conditioned to go toward massive consumption. I'm not talking about quality of life, nor the ability to share, nor to be abundant. I'm talking about our American Western concept that every household wants to achieve the American dream and become their own personal monarch, having 25 million underneath their feet, having 25 mansions, so to speak. And the things that we sacrifice in pursuit of that goal, which in my opinion, I feel like seeing that video and knowing that she a few million behind his name, that was probably an incentive for her to say, I'm just going to ignore, because of my own woundedness, I'm going to ignore this poor treatment and bad behavior and your own ways and just go for the money. So because this all came down and it came to this apex around the supermoon in Pisces, the dissolver of illusion, right?
Yes, yes.
I think that's why we got that bam, you know, as far as the way my psyche, the way my soul and intuition is processing the whole thing, is even some of the things that we are striving and running toward are not necessarily definitions of health. They are not structures or goals of our souls. So they are inherently. What I want to touch on is, I understand, and I think I empathize with, our history doesn't begin 500 years ago or 600 years ago with slavery as Africans in America. And we all want to get past it. However, the specific atrocities that slavery induced, but all the people, was the wounds on the soul. It was heavy manipulation, dominion, trickery, violence, rape, all kinds of physically atrocious conditions. To dive into that depth, we have not been able to. We have not been able to heal and resolve those wounds. They still exist. They're very raw. And I think that's really where we have to shift our focus. Not saying that, this is not the beginning of our history, but we have to begin there because it's a big chunk that we have not yet addressed.
Exactly.
Amen. Yeah. Hold on. Y'all know what I do right there. Hold on. You know I got to hit my stuff.
It's awesome, baby!
And the hits just keep on.
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to the call?
Come on, man. You know you in the building. You know I told you I was going to let you get yours off. We with the Lakers, man. Go ahead and score. What's up?
Well, first off, that was a good assessment, very insightful. And 2 points that you made, I already had those notes on, so thank you. So I could just kind of just build off of that. One thing you said was how far is the land. Well, again, it goes back to our messages. When you don't have the structure of a solid relationship, or one, whether it's healthy or not, if this is what you're seeing, this is what you're associating relationships with. And if there's discourse, if there's dysfunction, and you're seeing this, and it's glamorized on television, then of course you're going to associate your relationship with being healthy, because obviously it's on television, then guess what? It's okay, but it's not. To your other point, which is a really good point, the closest understanding to our history we have is slavery. And you're right. It was a system. It was the challenge of creating an inferiority and superiority complex in America. White was superior, black was inferior. Plain and simple. Once you establish those lines, everything else was simple. We're still recovering from that dilemma, which is why we put so much emphasis on things. Because we're still trying to get to a level of superiority, even in our relationships. Right. And the one thing, and I think, Ro, you may agree with this, I don't know, I didn't read your book, and I just found out about you tonight, but the one thing that women want in every relationship is one thing: security. And under that umbrella of security, there's a whole lot: physical, emotional, financial. And to your point, Carl, when you said, those numbers behind his name, perhaps that she liked that. Well, so I don't know, because again, I don't know her either. But it would be, arguably, you could say, hey, it provided what women want, and that's security. And who's going to walk away from security? Because innately, men, we're supposed to be protectors. We're supposed to make women add to their level of security. So that was, I like the point. So we just kind of like, yes.
Mm-hmm. Can I respond to that, Coach Khayr?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. And that piece around security is such an interesting piece, and it's almost like you have to do like triple backflips as you assess yourself within this setting, because the structure itself is, pardon my French, effed up. And so you're trying to define self and be fully in your fullness of being and in your truth of being within a system that is awkward, and it's a paradox, and it's built on lies, a lot of lies and thievery. And so even our concept of what it means to be secure, I believe, is skewed. So when you say what women want in relationships is security, I associate that with the ability to survive, meaning housing, clothes, food, shelter, stay warm, and the ability to nurture, give more. And the way that translates in this society, is not the norm, is money, But when we take it back to, let's say, indigenous or intuitive knowledge, sacred intellect, the sacred intellect, then security means my ability to create, because that's what I do as a feminine. I create. I create beauty, I create children, I create masterpieces of food. I create all the time. I produce, right? So it's having that energy, you can't really use it in the way that it's not revered in the same way within the structure. In fact, it was exploited within the structure. So the default, what we refer to, is this false sense of security, is what I call it, and that is money. So now the people with all of the money, the symbol of wealth and abundance and all of the things that we need to survive, it's just a symbol. Now you defer all of your energy to whomever may come your way. And if you don't have that solid foundation, if the reflections in your life don't show you that you are the creatrix, all of this is being defined by what's inscribed in your womb, then of course you're going to she used to go to the okie and turn on the housewives, and she was there wearing and go try and buy it the next day so that you're in the job, you know.
I want to add that I don't necessarily, especially after reading Rose's book and having I have a broad client base of women, and in my own personal experiences, this is not my opinion, that women are not really looking for security with money. Now, we had a caller, we had Michael Basin on here, and he said that's what he thought. What he thought at 50 years old, that women just want sexual satisfaction because they already make more money than men. And I didn't agree with him. And I don't necessarily agree with that all women want security. I think that men and women want what is natural for them. And I'm going to let Ro chime in. This is a behind the back pass. Men want to provide and protect, and women want to nurture and be soft, not weak. Now, there's a difference between being soft. They want to be feminine. They want to nurture men. I think that it makes women feel good to nurture men, and they want to be able to do that because every woman.
Well, I want to say that most women in America do not consciously say or know that that's what they would enjoy, in my opinion.
Tell it.
But most women do agree, and this is based on my research and not my opinion also, that women mostly seek adoration.
Woo!
Before anything. Before anything. Women seek adoration, and adoration to a woman is like respect to a man. Women feel love through feeling adored. But the way to feel adored on a very high level is to nurture and to be feminine and to be soft and gentle. So there's no way to get to that strong feeling of being loved the way that a woman views love unless you are in feminine energy.
Well, let me ask you this then. And I agree with you to a certain extent. Yes, women like to nurture, but they need to be secure in knowing that that nurturing is, one, going to the right place, and that, two, it's reciprocal, coming from the man in the way that we show our love, our attentiveness, whatever it is, whether it's buying nice things, whether it's having to buy a nice home. Women are nurtured to a certain point, because innately that's what you're hardwired to do. Nurturers.
But we're not.
A young girl who has a baby the first time, she instinctively knows what to do. Nurturing instincts take over.
But this is the point. This is the point.
Men,
hold on for a second, David. This is the point. Reciprocity and equality are not the same. Men and women do not equate security nor love the same way. What is secure for a man, and that's been the problem, is the hardwiring has been deviated from, and women are now being hardwired to be masculine. When a woman when a woman lets her wiring get through wanting to compete and come out of the household and not stay at home, but to come into the workforce and compete with men, then she's rewiring her hardwire system in order for her to say, I want what is equal to men. I want what's equal to men.
Right. And then does not enjoy nurturing. This needs to be clear. I had a long discussion today with a group of men who kept asking me, why are women afraid to be loving and nurturing? And it's not the case that women want to nurture when it is enjoyable. It's very enjoyable for a woman to nurture, but a lot of women feel too vulnerable to nurture. up in an elevator, blah, blah, blah. That's not normal. Going to happen. That's why we're all on this radio show right now, right?
Well, and so to follow up to that point right there, that's not normal. So the fear of vulnerability, by the way, I believe, just the caveat or the disclaimer, it is one of the most powerful positions on the globe, period, to be vulnerable.
Right.
However, going back, let's say, we got to bring it back to the slavery. When was there a time, let's just say the African female body in the Americas, when was that time that her nurturing and her vulnerability were exploited? And
always.
Okay. So these are, what I want to say is, in the way that we discuss this, these are well-founded, well-substantiated traumas, resistances, and fears.
Yes.
And those who find it within themselves to get the community to seek the help, assistance, and support to surpass them, to sort of traverse those waters and get the healing they need so that they can be vulnerable again. You know, we champion them, but it is not the majority. And so there's got to be this, that is.
We are
willing to be vulnerable.
But I want to make a very clear point here. He is an extremely feminine behavior. So if you can't become vulnerable, you can't be feminine. I hear the history, but it needs to be clear that if you can't be vulnerable, you can't be feminine.
Be feminine, yeah. The other thing, so let me put this, because we live in this Western Euro-dominated mindset here in the West, and there's some patriarchy that goes along with that, right? There's some abuse, right? And so within this culture, the word or something that's, so we say to men, you know what I'm saying? Even mothers.
It's very true. The more you're not feminine, the more you're not going to have a harmonious relationship.
Right. I will say this, Khayr, with the point you brought up about women in the household, I would say, well, what about indigenous cultures where, you know, this concept of the feminine belongs in the home? I think it's still being defined within this structure. And that would be this mindset that sits one apart from the other. What about indigenous cultures where women were in the marketplace? What about
here's those, you can't compare, you can't compare the marketplace, you can't compare the marketplace of an indigenous society with the concrete jungles of corporate America. There is no comparison whatsoever, because she wasn't there because she felt like they needed two incomes to come in the house. It is all intent. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I got to get to the next caller, but I want to say this. You cannot say the wounds of slavery is the only thing defining where we're at now, because our DNA is older than 500 years old. So when did the first African, or when did any first slave come over to the shores of America? It was in the 1400s. Let's say even if it was the 1300s, so that's 800 years ago. Our DNA is millions of years old. We outdate Caucasians. Caucasians didn't even come out of the Caucasus Mountains less than 50,000 years ago. They weren't even here. So prior to 50,000 years ago, when all of our cordial and harmonious relations in our household were being recorded by our DNA, I cannot buy or let that just go by and say, well, you know what happened in slavery over 800 years weighs more than the millions of years of history that we have living harmoniously. Do you know that when we built the pyramids in ancient Egypt, I'm sure you do, but for everyone listening, the only way you could build a structure like that is there was no warfare anywhere. There was no warfare for generations while the pyramids were being structured. And that same DNA resonance and memory and that genetic gene is still inside of us. So I'm still not going to let people get off the hook and say, oh my. Now I do agree that there needs to be some major healing from what happened in slavery, but I cannot let people say slavery is the cause of all of this right here because, you know, we did this happened in slavery and this happened in slavery. I say you got amnesia. You got amnesia because when General Tariq sailed from Africa and crossed the Straits of Gibraltar and went into Europe and kicked ass with 90 men and came back and brought 3,000 over and said, I'm going to run this place for 8 centuries. That history is also, that pride, that lineage, that record, that actual fact is also in there. So this whole thing, you know, about we have to recognize our history, yeah, but we can't just stop at 300 years or 400 years because it's insulting to all of my ancestors. And me personally, here's another question for those who go big on the slavery. What about black people in America who didn't come from slavery? Now I'm gonna let y'all think about that, because everybody, the whole root story is not fact. A lot of that is fiction.
I love this.
There's not all, yeah, there's all black people. All black people may have to deal with it because of conversation, but you can't just say, oh, I'm black, I'm in America, and I got over here by a slave ship. I know personally, I didn't come over here on a slave ship, so I don't know anything about that. My great-grandfather was.
I would love to answer this question. I would love to answer.
Well, hold on. Let me just finish the whole. Hold on. Let me just finish it out, and then you can have it. And then we gotta go to the next caller because I see Dr. Abbott over there, and I gotta get to him too. I want to thank Amber for definitely coming on and adding on to this. And there may be more to this conversation in a later show. But I'm just saying, every black person did not come from slavery. And to me, it's a cop-out. It's just like me saying, well, a man's stronger than a woman. I can hit her back if she hits me. I ain't going to say that. She didn't have no knife. My real problem is Ray Rice and Jay-Z didn't know any martial arts. If I knew martial arts and you try to just lunge at me, I'd just spin your ass around and just put the squeeze on you. I wouldn't even shake you. I'd just squeeze you and immobilize you. You know that they have like immobilization training for people who work in mental hospitals. Like, why don't men know how to do that? Men need to take a class. If your woman gets physical, how you can spin her ass around and just squeeze her so she can't do no harm to you or nobody else. And that means there's no physical abuse. He's restraining her. And I ain't talking about the restraining like the police do. Because if the police get you, you know what kind of restraint they're gonna do to you. All right. Gotta get Ro, it's on you. You said you want to respond to that question.
Yeah, so we don't understand how diseased we are by even calling ourselves black.
Woohoo! Woohoo!
A lot of people want to hold on to this as part of this word. This word is a nasty part of our culture, and a lot of people want to identify with this as a sense of pride. But
it's awesome, baby!
Calling yourself black is the same thing as calling yourself evil and bite into the whole system. When people come from other countries to live here, they're forced, and they think that they're forced, to choose if they're black or if they're white. And because we keep using this with the destitute of slavery, falls in behavior of people who have nothing to do with it. Alone, the word can create a lot of clarity and a lot of help. I am not willing to continuously call myself black. I am of African blood. I have African blood. I have lots of other blood. Just like South African people who call themselves black or colored or Afrikaner or all of these other labels that are supposed to put us into hierarchy or lesser positions. These are mistakes. to call us black as a whole or white as a whole, because white is associated with purity. And there are no people on earth who are pure. So I'm not, when I'm participating in these conversations, just know that when I say black, I'm using quotation marks. I'm not down for this black and white.
And the hits just keep on coming.
Yeah, I got to get to the next caller. Come on here, Dr. Abbott. Your microphone is wide open. I know you got something to chime in. Give me some rocket fuel. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Coach. What a fascinating and a fantastic conversation that you have going here tonight. And what I see is in regards to Ray Rice, the NFL, we're talking about debtors and creditors. But I really want to address the issue around the interview process, because if we're going to resolve this and start to get to a point where we have better relationships, it's going to come down, I think, to an interview process, because here I am. I'm in my fifth decade on the planet now, and I grew up in a house with 5 sisters. So I saw a lot of the things that Ro and other women who and the other lady that was on here talking about in the positions that they come from. But if we're not reaching each other, okay, so when we go to date a woman, we're interested in someone. We go to their house. Is the house clean and it's straight the way that we want? Now we may physical abuse and onset. And and since we're speaking on football now, and you see guys in shorts and t-shirts out there running around, making look muscular and built and look the part. But as soon as you put the pads on, that just changes the whole dynamics of the game. Some people can really play in them, and others just seem to whimper out and lose heart when the thunder really starts going down. And so, for me, it's coming to the university to meet these of them may not. The guy may in turn and spend a lot of time themselves in cooking, and so in a relationship, he has to now teach the woman how to cook. So, and then in the regards to emasculation and these chromosomes, as we see, we see girls and guys, going back to, okay, what is it what are we consuming? So, how much is twisted in a masculine effeminization process for them. So if you address some of these points, I would, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, there definitely does need to be an interview process, and it is, the whole process is included in my book. Okay? Men need to be extremely aware and involved when choosing a woman. Women are supposed to be nurturing. Not being able to cook should be a deal breaker. I'm sorry.
You heard it here first. She said it should be a deal breaker.
And the hits just keep on coming.
Come on, Ro, give me something else.
It is not cool to be able to cook 5 things. That's not acceptable.
What?
If you can't accept your femininity, then you're not suitable to be a man's wife. Period.
Whoa. Whew.
Now on the flip side of that, how does he may not even be aware of what you just said.
Well, we need to get aware, because the main problem that's happening in almost every single marriage in this entire country is the fact that women and men are not clear when it comes to their roles as the feminine and the masculine.
Wow.
And you know, and what I really find fascinating now is that I was recently at a conference, and I was sitting at a table, and it was just all Caucasians there. And I was the only one representing, for what I consider us. And I was talking to one lady, and we were talking about food, and I'm talking about scientific eating, of course. But what I asked her, diet was a part of this conversation. She said, "Well, I don't do the cooking. My husband does the cooking." And I said to her, "Well, how long have you been married?" "Oh, we've been married 6 months." And I said, "Well, how long do you think that's going to last?" I just was straight up with her about it, because at that point I saw the masculinity in her. And people who have come to me for my services, what I found in just over time, noticing this, that guys who do the majority of the cooking in the household, is always the issue with impotence. I've seen it on several occasions, but it was just, to hear that come out of her mouth, I was just going, well, you'll have a bridge partner as opposed to a husband or a lover. That's right. You're playing cards.
Men don't realize that they are trading their masculinity by doing feminine acts.
Right. Yeah.
Men have to practice and keep their masculinity high, and women have to practice and keep their femininity high. This whole idea that, men can do feminine things is definitely true. Men can do feminine things, but that's not healthy for a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're addressing it in your book, and I've read your book, and it's really a great book, and it's definitely a family investment, because it's always good to sharpen the tools that are in the toolbox, and always to be able to learn and to grow from things that we were unaware of or missed. But I'm just really glad to hear this conversation going on tonight, and to add that black, like you were speaking on the term black. I mean, we were here before the Continental Drift even happened. That was we was walking from here, from Africa to here, and you can go on YouTube now and find where they reconstructed skulls of people in America, and they would call them what we would call Native. But then they found experts from all over the world to work on this project, and they actually found that this was a so-called African structured being that was the first one that they found here in what we call the United States. So I say that we are the true bloods wherever we are. So I just want to add that to that.
Woo! And the hits just keep on coming.
And the hits just keep on coming.
Thank you, Dr. Abbott. I got to get on. I got a lot of callers on the line, but I don't want you to hang up. I want you to stay on the line and just check it out, all right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. happening. Computer